Welcome back, people of the internet, to the Quantum Podcast. My name is Ethan Morland, and I aim to speak to high performers and high performance practitioners about the hows and the whys behind what they do and break it down with them. I think now we're on episode 17, which is crazy because, to be honest, I didn't think I'd get past 10. I started this with every intention of doing as many episodes as possible, and to be honest, I was going to do 10 and that would be season 1 and then move on, but been on quite a roll and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you everyone who has watched or listened wherever you have. I really appreciate it. We are now in over 32 countries now, which is insane. I never thought people from so many countries would actually be interested or give a shit about what I have to say. So thank you everyone, really appreciate it. But today's episode, I sit down with someone who's very, very interesting. His name is HUW NIGHTINGALE. He is a Team GB Olympic snowboarder in the snowboard cross event. And this conversation is such a good one. We got into the ins and outs of what snowboard cross is, how he got into it, how a kid from Bolton ended up representing Team GB in the snowboard cross event, because obviously being from the UK, we're not renowned for our snow. We're not renowned for any good weather, to be honest. And you'll hear the story of how he got into such an incredible sport and how he managed to get himself onto the biggest stage on the planet, being at the Olympics at just 21 years old, which is crazy. Throughout the episode, we speak about his desire to go on and win medals and win championships, some of the places he's managed to travel to as a result of his career so far, the job he did previously only up until 1 year ago, and also how the funding works as well, because obviously some people are very interested in how athletes are funded, and Hugh sort of goes into this, and it's really interesting to hear it from someone firsthand. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Hugh. He's a great guy, got a massive career ahead of him, and I wish him all the best with everything he's got coming up, all the competitions and stuff. So remember to check his stuff out in a link in the description, and also check out everything to do with the podcast there also. And you can, if you could, please like, subscribe, share the podcast with anyone who may be interested. Recently, we've had a massive run of increasing in viewers, best few weeks, what have you. So really, really happy with the progress. So if you could keep doing that, I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this podcast with HUW NIGHTINGALE. To start off with, I kind of want to bring it back to the very beginning. So like, where was it you grew up, obviously being in a sport like snowboarding and at the level you are now? Because it's pretty hard to do that from, the UK sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Bolton, and we always used to go on holidays, skiing holidays with all the family. So we used to go to Meyerhofen in Austria or Kitzbühel, and I started off skiing, but was never really a big fan of it. So then when we then moved to Austria, I really wanted to get into snowboarding. So that's when I properly started snowboarding, and then I was about 5 years old when I started. So since then I've just never stopped.
So why did your family move to Austria?
Well, my dad just loved it here so much that he just wanted to move out here for the whole time. So then he sold all these pubs in Bolton and then made it happen.
Bloody hell. So what did he end up doing out there then?
So we bought a B&B breakfast in a village called Westendorf, and he's still got that, so he's going pretty well.
I mean, it's not bad to do that. Sell your pubs, move to Austria, be like right near the mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
So, because you don't have usually when kids move abroad when they're young, they end up with an accent or like a twang of both places, and you do sound like you're a proper northerner. Yeah. So did you spend a lot of time going back and did you?
Not really. I've just never kind of lost the accent, because I speak quite a lot of English through the winter season, so I never get rid of the accent. But when I speak Austrian, they don't know that I'm English, so it's quite funny when I've got two accents in two different languages.
That's pretty mad. Did you find it hard to learn Austrian when you were younger?
Um, what I remember, it wasn't too bad because I kind of went straight into school, and then you kind of had to learn it then. But like going through the years, I remember it just being like just not knowing some words and stuff like that, and having to ask like, "Oh, what's that mean?" and stuff like that. But it was difficult, but I got by basically. It wasn't like I was struggling mad.
Yeah, wasn't an issue. So growing up in Austria, what is that like? Because to me, that's an absolute dream. Like being by the mountains every day, and it's like everything's just sort of your playground as a kid, then, isn't it? Like it's completely different from the UK.
Yeah, it's so much different. Like you get home from school, and school here finishes at 12, 1 o'clock. So then you like just put on your jacket, put on your snowboard boots, and then you can like go snowboarding straight after school. So that's probably like one of the best things about living in Austria. You could just after school go snowboarding or stuff like that, and it's just great to do that kind of stuff.
That is wild. Finishing school at 12 o'clock, that's every kid's dream, mate.
No, it's pretty good. You do have to start at what 7:30, but then you finish at 12 o'clock, so it's pretty decent.
Exactly. Like you can't complain at that. So you obviously growing up, did you live by the mountains, I'm guessing?
Yeah, like literally walked over the fence at the house and just was at the mountain straight away. So it was a great place to live.
Yeah. So as you got a bit older and obviously you gotten into snowboarding from skiing and you started to get a bit better, at what point was it that you were like, because obviously you kind of choose a bit, don't you, between the snowboard cross and then like if you're going for say half pipe or freestyle or what have you. So what made you decide to go for the snowboard cross event rather than the others?
Well, there's me and a couple of mates that we were like this group of snowboarders, and we always used to just have fun in the park and just do freestyle, but nothing like serious whatsoever. So then there was this one year where we went to like an Austrian masters, so where all the like half pipe was there, slope style, slalom, and snowboard cross, and everybody was there, and we did all the events. And then when it came to snowboard cross, I did quite well. I think I got like came sixth or something, and I've never done it before. So then I was like, quite like this, and then Dad like kind of got me into it a bit more, and then that's how it like properly kicked off, pretty much.
So is there a difference between the board between cross and freestyle? Because that's one thing I was not sure on.
Yeah, they've got you have like on a normal freestyle board, they're just way too soft and not like stiff enough for snowboard cross. So we have like a longer radius for turns and stuff, and a lot stiffer than a normal snowboard. So it makes like big jumps and like big rollers and turns like that a lot easier to do on a bigger, stiffer board.
Yeah, because the snow as well is a bit. It's not like it's like rock hard, isn't it? The snow that you're thinking on, so you kind of have to catch an edge perfectly, don't you, to be able to cut the corners and what have you, and all that sort of stuff.
There's some like you'll have some races where if it's like proper warm weather, it'll be very soft, but normally it's like rock solid, and you don't really want to crash from like a high speed onto the rock solid stuff. So you do have to be careful.
What sort of speeds do you reach when at events?
It depends on what kind of course it is, but sometimes we'll be hitting up to about 80 kilometers an hour, or sometimes we'll be hitting up to like an average. We'll be hitting maybe like 50 to 60 kilometers an hour over a space of 400 meters of a course, or 500, 600 meters of a course.
Jesus, Like to fall on that, mate. It must hurt a little
Yeah.
bit that. But just to sort of paint a picture as well for those who may not know what is snowboard cross, because obviously I know what it is, but people who are listening probably don't.
Yeah, it's basically you basically have all snowboard disciplines in one kinda. So you've got a long course where you have a start section, then you have the rest of the course, and it's four racing against each other out the start, and winner gets down to the whoever gets down to the bottom first wins, and you have jumps or rollers in between turns and stuff like that.
It's it is such an interesting event because the sort of the ability to produce force, like when you're going over a roller, use the momentum of it and stuff like that. Like you have to build some pretty solid legs to be able to do that.
Yeah, like at the games this year, I've never been as tired as at the games because the course was like 1.5 seconds, and it was just so tiring on my legs. I just couldn't I could barely even move when I got to the bottom because it was so tough. But yeah, you have to train the legs quite a fair bit to
To be
to
able to
endure
get,
the
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So at what point did it start to become serious for you? Like you were like, I'm gonna make this a living kind of thing.
So I was probably about 16 or 16, 17, because I started off a season beforehand just like seeing if I actually wanted to do it, and then did quite well straight away because I've been snowboarding for such a long time, and then just did quite well for that season, and then was like, kind of keep this going, and then each season comes along and the better that you get. And then last year was like the first season that I was able to do World Cups, and then went straight to the games. So that was like a crazy feeling that stuff that I achieved in that amount of time. So then that's when I knew like it's can be a proper
Serious, yeah.
proper job now. Yeah.
So I was going to ask what's the process like for going to the games? Like, have to do you have to apply, or do people like come and scout you and go, we think you're good enough for this?
So basically, you're on like the GB Snow Sports like World Cup team if you're doing the World Cups basically. So you're always with the coach. That will take you to the games and stuff. So for Beijing, you need a criteria. So you have to come in the top 32 of the overall men, and then you get a spot. So then I got like two top 24s, and then was able to go then, and then that's basically how you're allowed to go.
It's pretty wild. Like, so what age were you when GB Snow Sport came and approached you to sort of be on the team?
I think I was how old would I be? I think I was about 18 at the time, and then they like I came on to like a couple of camps to them to kind of scout me and see how I am, and then they thought I was good enough for like the Europa Cup team at the time. So then did Europa Cups and FIS level races, and then got enough points to do then World Cup, and then went straight onto the World Cup circuit, and then did quite well.
So it's a pretty like quick rise then in terms of going up the levels.
Yeah, like I'm probably one of the guys who've been doing it for the least amount of time on the World Cup circuit, because I've only been doing border cross for what, 7 years now, and this is only the second year that I'm on the World Cups. So it's gone quite fast, to be fair.
Oh, well, you're
Because a
21,
lot of
aren't you?
yeah, I'm 21, so a lot of people start when they're like 11, 10 to do the sport, and I started when I was 16, so it was quite a late entry, but because I've been snowboarding for so long, it went quite fast.
Yeah, because I'm a kind of snowboarder, right? absolutely fucking terrible. Anything to do with a jump, like get me to do an ollie, I'm all right because I used to skateboard. Get me to do 180s and stuff, mate. I'm on my arse straight away. But
Yeah,
the speed stuff, like just building speed and being able to carve. There, like send me out for a month, I'll do that all day. But
yeah,
like it's just there's something about it. I think it's just the adrenaline rush of like when you realize how fast you go and you're like fucking hell, this is next level sort of thing.
yeah. And then you've got to put another three riders next to you going into a turn, and it's the adrenaline when you get it is just amazing, and that's why I love it.
What? So when you started competing, what was that like for you initially? Were you just like very high anxiety, or were you quite calm with it?
I was quite calm with it because because it has gone this fast. I just knew like, oh yeah, I can, like if it's gone this fast for me now, I'm sure it can keep going this fast for the next couple of years. So I was never like, I never had anxiety for it. I just knew that I could do quite well, and even if this year hasn't gone that well, I know that I'm still young, and it can still improve like mad. So
Going to the Olympics, take me through the whole process of like, you know, so when you get your kit to then when do you fly out as a group, and then when you get there, like what do you do? Because obviously China's been in lockdown for what 3 years. So how
yeah.
was it being like at an Olympic Games where you couldn't really do much?
Well, for me, it started off like in summer. You basically get thrown into a list of people that can or are able to go to the Olympics. So then I was thrown into that list, and it's kind of very unlikely to make the games if you're on that list. So then I probably had like a 1 to 5% chance of actually going there. And then when I actually made it, it was unbelievable because I made it in such a short period of time. And then yeah, when you don't really realize, or you don't get the feeling yet until you wear like the Olympic stuff on, or you get um the like letter that says, oh, you're going to Beijing now and stuff like that. So that was like a surreal feeling. It kind of is still surreal to this day, but it was proper sick.
So was it similar to when we saw the Tokyo Olympics where athletes were like their teams were in the team hotel. They weren't really allowed to do anything. You weren't allowed to leave the area, kind of. And they had like, like in Japan, they had those stupid beds, didn't they? So that they couldn't have anyone else in the room because the bed would break. And it
Yeah,
was like, was
yeah.
there any like weird precautions they had in place while you were there?
So to go there, I basically had to like not see anybody for like a month and a half, because they said if you're positive a month and a half beforehand, you can't go, because you had to provide set amount of PCR tests and COVID tests like that. So then they basically couldn't see anybody. We went to the races and we had to like wear masks all the time. We couldn't, like, even with the team, we couldn't not have a mask on, because it was like if somebody's got it and they don't know that they've got it. So then when you get there, you kind of like to be cautious at that point. So you couldn't you weren't really allowed to go to other people, like other teams dorms or whatever like that, and pretty much everybody had their like own building where all the athletes were in, and then you had to get PCR tests every day. You had to wear a mask everywhere, even outdoors and whatever. So then it kind of became normality for some point, just wearing a mask all the time. But yeah, you couldn't really, you weren't really allowed to go meet other teammates or go to like different events, like that kind of situation. So it was a bit annoying, but also you had to do what you had to do.
So you couldn't go to see any of the other events then?
Well, you could like you weren't really allowed to go to different villages, unless it was like some kind of special thing. So you had three villages where you had one in Beijing in the town that was more for like the ice skating and stuff like that, or the ice events. And then you had one that was roughly about 2 hours away that was then for like all the skis and stuff. And then we were in the biggest one that had like the biathlon, all the snowboarding, all the skiing, all of that kind of stuff. So when you wanted to go somewhere, you couldn't really go anywhere because there was no way of getting there.
So you kind of like just you blocked in basically.
Yeah, and you could like you were allowed to go to the events at your village basically, but you weren't really allowed to go from our village to the one in Beijing center and go watch the ice skating or whatever.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it was just, you had to be very careful.
So when you went out for your first event, what was that feeling like? Was there like a moment of just like, oh my fucking god, I'm at the Olympics representing, Great Britain? Was there anything like that?
Well, I had a proper bad training day the day before, so I was like, oh, I wasn't racing very well and all this, and then when it comes to like quali, I was bricking it. I was proper bricking it because you just know that, like, for a normal World Cup, you know that people are watching, but not that many. But for the Olympics, you know that everybody is watching you and everybody can like see what you do. So I was absolutely bricking it.
It's like this is how mad the Olympics is. Like, so I said, my dad was like, "Oh, have you got any guests coming on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got this Olympian, HUW Nightingale." He went, "Is he the guy who does the snowboard cross?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How do you know that?" And he was like, "Oh, what? I
Yeah,
watched that event. I love that one." I was like, "It's just like the
yeah,
people you least expect to watch those events. Will watch them because obviously the Olympics is massive."
and like for snowboard cross as well, it's not really known over the time that the Olympics isn't on. But when it comes to the Olympics, everybody goes, "Oh, I know snowboard cross. It's one of my favorite events to watch," and everybody like knows about it and loves it. So it's great to represent Team GB for that.
Yeah. So the after the first race, what do you do after a race? These events, like, because obviously you're waiting to see if you qualified and all that sort of stuff. So what do you do in that sort of in between stage?
So for the games, basically there was only like 32 guys there, so you knew you were qualified. But at normal events, it's kind of like you like, if you're close to not qualifying, it's a lot of like nerves till everybody's come down, and then to see if you've made it in or not, and it's just like holding your thumbs and like hoping that somebody crashes, but like not in a bad way, but just like falls and doesn't
Yeah,
hurt themselves or whatever. So it's a lot of nerves until that point.
yeah. It's such like a good sport to watch because like I remember watching it during the Olympics, and you just like you sat on the edge of your seat because they're like like not even touching this like that close to each other, and you're like, how have they not collided yet? And then all of a sudden, there's like three of them on the floor, and the guy who was like dead last by about 4 or 5 seconds has just whizzed past them and won it. Like it's such a
Yeah,
crazy event.
yeah, and that's just part of the sport that that sometimes you can't. There's nothing you can do about it because people can take you out. You can be in first position and somebody can just take you out, and that's just how it goes sometimes. But yeah, it gets pretty close sometimes in our sport.
Have you ever had any like bad injuries as a result of snowboard cross?
To be honest, I'm pretty clean when it comes to injuries in snowboard cross. I've had a couple just like snowboarding in general, but nothing in snowboard cross. So it's pretty good to be fair.
You must be one of the lucky ones then, because like some of the
Yeah,
falls that you see are ridiculous.
yeah. There's not a lot of people that are in the sport that haven't had a pretty big crash. Like, I've had big crashes. There's no doubt about that, but I've never had like something that was injury worthy, basically.
This is what one thing I was interested in as well, because obviously the way the sport is, it's obviously being able to go as fast as possible, being able to produce the most force possible and use your momentum. So is there like a weight specification that they ideally want you at to be able to race?
Um, it depends on what kind of rider you are, because you have some guys that are quite like a lot skinnier than other guys, but they can, because they're a bit lighter, they're like a lot faster in starts and all of that compared to the heavier guys. So for me, I want to be like around 95 kilos, around that weight limit, basically. But then you get some guys that are like 80, 85. So there's not like a definite weight size that you really want to hit. So yeah.
It probably depends on your body type and everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if you're fast out the start, it probably means that you're a light guy and all of this, but then it doesn't help you as much further down on the course. But then if you're a heavier guy, you may not be as quick in the start, but then you may like catch up a lot. You'll get a lot more speed and catch up the other guys a lot faster.
So at what point during your sort of, well, short career as it's been, did you sort of start incorporating like strength, like S&C and sort of really dialing in your nutrition and stuff like that? Because I feel like some people, they either leave it really late or they do it very early and get on top of it.
Yeah, for me, I was probably I did like some fitness stuff when I was 16, 17, but I didn't really know what I was doing at that point. And then when I would say about 18 until now, I've been on point with all the fitness stuff. So yeah, now I'm in the gym six times a week, so it
Jesus.
gets a lot.
Yeah, that's quite intense. So do you have a coach for S&C stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a guy that does all my S&C stuff, and then I've got my snowboarding coach.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty
So
decent like team.
because I'm from like a S&C background, like did it at uni and worked in like rugby and football and stuff. So I'm interested in like what sort of stuff are they getting you doing during your training?
So for us, it's a lot of like we have to be very flexible. So there's a lot of like flexibility work and stuff like that, and our main focus basically is like leg strength and core strength, because to like hold the turns and do all these big stuff, you need a very tense core. And then yeah, legs, you just need the power basically. But then you also have like your jumping ability, because you have to be like springy and like quick to get away from the floor. So we do a lot of like quick feet stuff, a lot of jumping, a lot of balance as well. So it's kind of a bit of everything
Yeah.
that we have to do.
The flexibility wasn't something I thought would be major. Like I get, you need a decent amount of mobility, but I didn't think the flexibility side of stuff would be that big. I'm quite intrigued by it.
Yeah, because in snowboard cross you have to be like bent a lot of the time with your legs and all of this, and if your hips are tight, or if you've not got good flexibility in your hips, you just can't get low and get the kind of like draft if you need when you're behind people or going over features. You don't want to be tall over features, you want to be low and compact and stuff like that. So flexibility is a very important part that you wouldn't really think, oh, snowboarding flexibility, but you definitely do need it.
Yeah. So, where's the best place you've competed over your career? Because you've been to obviously Beijing, Austria, places all over Europe. Like,
I would say Beijing was definitely special, but I don't know where the best. I'd love to have a race in the UK, but I don't think I don't think that'll ever take place. But probably in Austria, a place called Right Around. It's always a great event. It's like a man-made, like a course that is made out of dirt. So when it snows, you can like do a lot of things with it, and that is always a good race. Big course, big features, and all that.
yeah, there's so many good spots in Europe. But one thing that I've found interesting recently, there's a lot of places I didn't know you could actually like ski and snowboard. Like Poland, you can do it, and we used to go to a place in Bulgaria that was like one of the cheapest in Europe to go to, and it's like for what you pay, it's not like it's pretty good. It's like you get everything out of it that you'd need, kind of thing. So, have you ever? Obviously, you go and do camps here, and you go and compete here, there, and everywhere. But do you ever just go on like a holiday with mates and just go snowboarding, or is it always just the competition side of it?
Well, the winter is kind of tough because you don't really have that much time to go on holiday, because you're always training, and you may have like a 2 week period where you can go away, but you kind of have to spend that 2 week period in the gym or just snowboarding for fun. So I don't really have like a mate's holiday for snowboarding. But then, if I want to ride with some of my mates, I just go outside and
that's so
go in my hometown. So it's not like I'm not having a day with my mates, but I've not really gone to a different country and rode with my mates, kind of.
Have you ever competed in like New Zealand and stuff? Because obviously here at the minute it's summer while it's winter in Europe, and you'll switch it around, or do you just take like a full summer off season?
Yeah, so I went to New Zealand like 4 or 5 years ago. We had Junior Worlds there, and to be honest, I kind of forgot about New Zealand, but that was a special place to ride. Yeah, that was probably one of the coolest places I've ever ridden. So, but we had Junior Worlds there.
Whereabouts was it in New Zealand?
Cadrona.
I'll note that because we're looking for because we moved here like 6 months ago, and we were like we want to go like snowboarding and skiing while we're here. So it's like we were like obviously looking at New Zealand, but we didn't know where. So I'll note that one.
Yeah, and like the place that it's at, it's at this like massive lake and stuff, and the scenery is just amazing. And then you go snowboarding, and it's just super cool.
Yeah, it's from what I've heard from people, it's one of the maddest places to go. The South Island of New Zealand, like the hikes you can do, obviously the snowboarding, the skiing, all that. Like there's just endless things you can go and do there. Like it looks crazy.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to snowboard, but
it's
have to wait and see
what the schedule allows.
Yeah.
What have you got coming up in sort of the next few months
then? So the next month, so I've basically got another week off, basically, and then I go straight to Georgia for the World Championships, and then go to Spain, Sierra Nevada straight after that, then go to Switzerland straight after that, and then I've got 2 or 3 days off, and then I'm off to Canada for the last race of the season.
So this is probably something a lot of people would be interested in knowing. So how is this all funded? Is this funded by GB Snowsport, or do you have sponsors, or what is it?
Yeah, so I'm basically, so GB Snowsports is a big help with this. So they basically pay for a lot of my stuff, so travel and everything basically. And then the National Lottery also helps me just live my life. So that's where it basically all comes from. And then you have sponsors that help you out on the way.
So is there much in terms of prize money for these, like, the World Cups and stuff like that?
Yeah, you get. I think you get prize money up to about eighth. I think it is. So if you come first, you get. I think it's about 10,000 Swiss francs or something like that.
I mean, that's
So
not bad. It's not bad for
so if you're
competition.
winning, if you're winning like 3-4 races a year,
You set, mate.
yeah, it's not too bad.
Because
So
so obviously with GB Snow Sport sort of helping out with everything, do they sort of come to you and go, "We want you to compete at this event and this event," or is it you that decides that?
so for us, the World Cups are the like main focus. So if we will always go to all the World Cups and stuff like that, and then we may put a Europa Cup in there if we just want to practice or whatever. But they never come to us and say, "Oh, you have to do this for social media or whatever." There's nothing really that we get told to do by them. Like they may ask us if we could come to the Brits in Scotland or whatever, but that's about it.
That's pretty mad that they don't ask much, because usually it's always there's strings attached to things like doing,
Yeah,
because like you see, so probably a good example of it is you look at like Formula One or like Premier League football teams at the minute. They're always bringing stuff out on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and they're getting drivers or players to do these weird challenges, that are trending at whatever given time. And it's quite surprising that they're not using that for you lot, to sort of not just bring exposure to them, but bring exposure to you, because that would obviously bring in
yeah,
more sponsors and what have you.
yeah. But it's also a hard thing because not all athletes are in the UK. That's also like a thing that we have with snow sports is a lot of athletes are either from or have lived in France for a lot of the time, or come from America where you can snowboard for a season, not like in the UK where you can't really snowboard. So it's hard to get all the athletes back to do all that kind of stuff. But maybe this summer they'll change their minds and
You'll be regretting that
see
one.
see what other people are doing. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So in terms of like the off season, what do you do? Do you have like another sport that you're interested in? Do you have hobbies that you like to go and do?
So last year was I was basically still working because it was the first year of World Cup and it went quite fast to it. So this year will be the first year where I'm getting paid with everything. So I probably will just be training twice a day through summer and just living the life basically. But I do a lot of mountain biking, road biking, so I really enjoy that. Um, so that's pretty good
I
fun.
mean, you're in the place for it, mate. I remember when I went to Austria. Oh, when was it now? It was 5 years ago, and we went to Hallstatt for. We camped on the lake there for like 2 days. Mate, it's just Austria's one of the most ridiculous places I've ever been to. Like, everything's just picturesque.
I think it's sometimes a bit underrated.
Yeah.
Like you sometimes forget about how good Austria actually is, and like the lakes up on the mountains are just incredible, and the view that you get up there is amazing.
Hallstatt is insane, mate. Like, the way you get there, you get to the train station is across the lake from the actual town, so you have to get a boat. Once you get off the train,
Yeah,
you then wait for a boat to come over and get you. And then when you're there, there's like diving boards into the lake and all that sort of stuff. It was just like something out of a film, and we were like, I just don't want to leave. Don't want to go home.
yeah. No, it's a pretty good place to be fair. And you've got so like you don't have um like any oceans nearby, but the lakes that we have and stuff like that is just something you won't get anywhere else.
Yeah, so when we were in Austria, because of the way you get to Hallstatt, it's like we had to get a train, then a train, then a train, then a train, and we missed one of them. And basically, we got off at the wrong stop, and then we had to get to the next stop that was like 10 kilometers away. And we'd made these like, so we used to like skate like a lot, and we basically cut out old boards into little like fishtail boards so that we could put them on our bags and skate with them wherever we needed to go. We ended up having to hitchhike down this like freeway, and we were like, what the fuck are we doing? And then, so we got some woman to give us a lift, and we ended up camping on this side of a hill in a farmer's field on the side of a railway track. And it's just everything we did there. We were like, this place could just be in a movie. Literally everything.
Yeah, it's for me. I think it's one of the best countries out there for scenery wise and all of that kind of stuff, because it is so picturesque.
The people are dead nice as well. Like the woman who picked us up was just more friendly. Didn't really ask any questions. Just was like, "Where do you want to go?" Like no strings attached. And it's like, go do that in England. People just be beefing their own and going, "Just fuck off, will you?"
Yeah. Everybody is quite nice here, and I guess you're in the middle of nowhere, so they were like, "Who are these guys?" Like, I'm sure they're not supposed to be here. So
honestly, mate,
nice.
it was wild. That was. So then in terms of training, like you said, you're in the gym 6 days a week, and then in the off season you're doing doubles. So in terms of on the slopes, what are you doing for that side of things? Because obviously you're not just doing runs constantly. There's different things you will be doing, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so because in snowboard cross we always need a track where we can train basically. So we may go to France where there may not be a track for a couple of days. So we'll do a lot of carving, or we'll be doing some jumps, or we'll be doing just like in summer it'll be more carving and jumps and just having a bit of fun, doing a bit of freestyle just to get back into everything. But then mostly we'll be on track when we're on a training camp basically.
Yeah. So are you always at the same place? Are they like moving you around so you've got different courses and stuff like that, or is it like just always the same?
A lot of the time it's the same, because a lot of places the ski resort will build the same course, or not the exact same course, but they'll build a course there and you'll know, oh, I'll be going there next year or whatever. But this year was the first time that some of the glaciers had to close because of the snow conditions. So then we went to Chile for about 10 days to train there, and there was a track there, so that was a great experience as well.
Mate, I bet it's amazing down there.
Yeah, it was. That was also like a crazy place to ride, like 4,000 meters, and you're just like on a volcano riding a snowboard.
That's wild. So
mental.
When you said last year you were still working, and obviously this year is your first year where you're technically pro. So what was the job you were doing last year?
I was basically like just cutting grass and cutting hedges all the time. Yeah, because I didn't want to get like a job that was too heavy, or like I wanted to focus on the gym a lot more than work basically. So I know this guy in the village that happily took me along. So he said like, oh yeah, if you ever have to go anywhere, just let me know and you can go and stuff like that. And he was like a big supporter of like my snowboard career as well. So I was like, oh yeah, can I help you guys? And then did some grass cutting, did some hedge cutting and stuff like that. So
was this guy like a family friend or something? Like to be able to go, you know, if you ever just need to leave for a tournament, just go and do it. Pretty selfless of the guy to just let you go and do that.
Yeah, he's one of some of my parents' friends. So that was kind of like a helping thing. But yeah, he's a really nice guy, and it's definitely helped me to become like a professional snowboarder for what he did for me. So
What was it like so when when you quit your job and then the transition into full time snowboarding? How did you feel when you made that transition? Was it like I can imagine it was probably like excitement.
Oh, it's such a relief because like for any professional athlete, you're a bit like you want to get money for what you're doing in the sport. So when the first time they said, "Oh yeah, you'll be getting funding this year and you'll be getting money," it's just like a big weight off my chest, basically, that you don't have to really think about that side anymore.
I
So
bet it
it
was like,
was
I bet it just didn't feel real. Like to be told
no,
that that's what you can now do full time for a living is probably crazy.
yeah, and like even as a kid, when you really like a sport, you're like, oh yeah, I really want to do this, but and then when it actually comes true, it's just like it's a bit like emotional as well because you're like, oh, I've been working all my life, I've been training so hard, and then when it actually comes true, it's just surreal
Yeah.
for that time. So
So
it's great.
what's the goal for the next few years? Obviously, the Olympics will become around in 2026, so you've got a bit of time between now and then. So what do you want to do between then?
I just want to become trying to become best snowboarder that I can, pretty much. And it's not. I want to do quite well in the sport, and hopefully until Cortina 2026, I can be fighting for a medal at that time. So that's where I'm kind of aiming at the moment, and then see how it goes till then.
We're at the Olympics just gone. Did you go into it thinking like there's a possibility of a medal, or were you just like I just want to enjoy this for what it is?
So for the singles, I knew that I wouldn't be getting. It'll be very unlikely for me to get a medal at the singles event. But then with the team event, I thought if I ride well and I can do quite well. Charlotte, the girl that I race with, she can like pretty much um, help me out, like get me out of the bag, like can get me a medal. So
Just
I was
just
kind of like,
banking on it.
yeah, I was kind of banking on her quite a fair bit, to be fair. So then I was like, oh, I just need to ride well. She can pick up a load of time, and then there may be a chance for a medal. But then it was a bit harder than I thought it was going to be.
So what do you do for the mixed? Is it like is it both your times put together? Because I didn't watch that one. Is it both your times put together, or is it like you like it's like a I don't know like a would you say relay or what?
Yeah, so it's basically like the guys always go first, and then the women. So then we will do a normal heat and get to the bottom, and then the time difference. If the first guy's gone through and I'm a second behind, then there'll be a 10-minute, 5-minute between our gate dropping and the women's gate dropping, and then they'll go riders ready, attention, and then the first person that went through the finish gate will drop, and then the second person, and then the third person, and then the fourth person. So then it's basically like
They keep
a
the
normal
gap.
race for the men, yeah, and then it's a normal race for the men, and then it's kind of like a catch up thing for the women.
That's interesting. That I didn't think it. I thought it'd just be like kind of you go, then they go, and you just put your times together. But I guess it makes it a bit more interesting, doesn't it? That like having to play catch up on someone.
Yeah, it's like it was to watch it was like proper intense because like she can you can like catch up. So it was good to watch. But it used to be like when the first person goes through the gate, goes through the finish, their gate at the top will drop straight away. So but then that got a bit dangerous because if somebody crashed and then you've got four other people like pelting it down and like there's people helping this guy up or whatever on a turn and you're like, oh, became a bit too dangerous at that point.
Yeah, bloody
So
hell.
then that's when they changed it.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's what I thought they would have done. Maybe like, you get to the bottom, the gate opens. But yeah, I didn't think the fact that maybe there's been a collision of two people and they're just like lay flat out. Someone's just darting
Yeah,
down past him.
yeah. So that's when they like changed the rules where it became how it is now.
Yeah. So when obviously your career can go on as a snowboarder till what? It's usually like 30s, isn't it?
In snowboard cross, it's probably a bit later. I think 40 is like if you're doing it with 40 still, you're very healthy and very good in it. But after 40, I'm a bit like, what's the point?
Your body's kind of broken at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get to 40 and you can still ride snowboard cross with no pain or whatsoever, you've had a decent career. So
So is there anything you would like, say, looking into the future, is there anything you would like to do afterwards?
I probably, you see, I would find it quite hard to go back into like a normal job. So I'll probably go into coaching. So I would quite like to do a bit of coaching when it's over. So I'll probably go into snowboard cross coaching.
Yeah, because a lot of people do their 9 to 5s as well as compete, and I find that baffling because the schedules that you obviously have as athletes is like, it's more than a full-time job. It's literally life. And to then try and fit in a 9-hour shift at whatever job you're doing is crazy.
Yeah, it gets a bit mad sometimes.
Yeah. So obviously, because you said it's not a big sport outside of the Olympics. Like obviously, if you're into snowboarding, you might follow it. But is it hard? Does that make it hard to find sponsorship for events and stuff?
Yeah, and coming from the UK, where it's not like a winter country, basically, it's kind of like hard to get the sponsor, because if they don't see if they don't see anything beneficial out of it, it doesn't really help them unless they just really enjoy what you're doing and that. So it is quite hard sometimes to find a sponsor in the UK.
Yeah, because I didn't realise that obviously a lot of sponsors will go for competitors of the same nationality. So if the German, they'll go for a German athlete because obviously that helps promote them. So yeah, there's probably not many UK brands involved with anything, is there?
No, and the UK brands that are winter based are already kind of like helping with GB Snow Sports kind of thing. But then like you may get some guys that want a winter sport athlete on their, for their company or whatever. But then a lot of people would prefer the summer games because it's more likely that, they get a lot more help by that.
Would you ever consider doing like the freestyle, like the half pipe stuff or anything like that?
That's too scary for me.
You're darting down a mountain at 80 kilometers an hour and you're saying it's too scary for you.
Like half pipe, I would have no chance, and I don't have the balls to do that. That like half pipe for me is the gnarliest thing ever. I could get down a freestyle course, but I couldn't do like quads or triples what they do. So
I remember I went to a place in New Hampshire snowboarding when I was like 13. And I remember so we got in the chairlift and it went over the half pipe. And obviously you see them on TV and you're like, it looks pretty big, but in person it's the most daunting, like horrifying thing you've ever seen. Like you can just imagine if you even attempted to air out of it, you're just going off the side, like falling into the trees.
Like I've been in a couple of half pipes, but to get like big air is so astonishing.
Yeah. And it was mad a few years ago when it was at Aspen, they added like the spine, so the two half pipes with a spine.
Yeah.
That's scary, that is. To be able to create the apex perfect to land on the other side with that amount of air is just ridiculous.
Yeah, you have to have a couple of things loose in your head to do that kind of stuff.
So I'm guessing you don't then, no.
No, never.
So obviously now so you've been told by GB Snowsport that you can basically do this as a full-time job. Obviously that's not guaranteed year on year. So what sort of criteria do you have to like meet to be able to, carry on with them?
So you basically have like different levels of funding basically. So I'm on like the lowest one at the moment, and then you can go up all to like I think A, B, C, D. I think D is the lowest, and then you can get onto A. So I'm on D, and that is like, and then that the higher you get up, the more I guess funding you'll get. But this year, I think I don't really have to hit any like specific criteria because a lot of the time it's over a 4-year like block because of the games. Because a lot of the time the results go off games, and how much funding you get will go off a 4-year block. So this year, I think I'm all right for whatever I do, I hope. But then maybe come next year, they may say, oh yeah, you need to hit this kind of criteria, or you have to do well at this event or stuff like that.
I guess it's quite good to do it that way, because I can imagine if, they go, oh, you can do this full time, but we need you to do this, this and this. Straight away, there's probably anxiety and all that pressure on some people obviously would just make them fold. So then the potential's gone, like, sort of thing.
Yeah. And even in a professional sport, you like a lot of like you'll go to bed and you'll be going like, oh shit, like I've not done well this year. Like, how am I going to get funding for next year? What am I going to do? And that's why like professional sports are like some of the hardest jobs, because it's just a lot of the time it's just like thinking about stuff that you don't really want to think about, and it's kind of like that's why there's so many people in sports that get depression and stuff like that, because it's such a like mental game to not think of all these different things that go on, that it gets proper hard sometimes.
It's all consuming. Like you can't not live and breathe it.
Yeah, like you either have to be, it's either 100% or
not at all.
None, pretty much. Yeah, like you can't 50-50 it, because then there's no point.
Yeah, what fascinates me as well with some athletes is that, when they reach the pinnacle, and then because they've reached the pinnacle, that thing they've been working their entire life towards, and then all of a sudden they're there, and they're like, what now? Like, they literally don't know what to do with themselves, because their entire life, may have been 20, 25, 30 years, has been focused towards that goal, and then all of a sudden they're like, I don't know what to do now, because I've just done what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, like for when you hit that goal, I think it's amazing for however long, but then when you actually like think about it, you're like, shit, I've kind of finished my career. Like, what do I do now? And like, some people will say, some people will try and do the same again and become, I guess, the greatest of the sport.
Yeah.
But then some people just don't know what to do, and then that becomes an issue.
I guess that's now why some people have started. You see a lot of athletes now where they start creating careers alongside being an athlete, because people are obviously starting to realize now that you can't just be that one thing. You need to have your thing for later. But obviously, like, for you, you're 20, 21. Like, you got fucking years, mate. You've got years.
Yeah, I've got quite a good career in front of me if it all goes well. So I'm not thinking about something else yet, but I'm sure like come say 5, 6, 7 years, I may be thinking about get my foot in this thing or whatever. So, but
Yeah,
at the moment, I'm just living it.
just enjoying it. So obviously you're getting through the season, and you've got what, 3 events left this year, was it? So what
4, yeah.
so what do you want to, what are you sort of setting yourself as like the goal for these events?
So we've got World Champs in 2 weeks, and I'd love to do quite well in World Champs. I'd love to get like a top 8 maybe. It's quite a far shout, but I think it could be possible. So I would quite like to get a top 8, and then if we do quite well for the team event, I think there's definitely a medal for the team event. So I'm quite happy for that, and I definitely, and it's not as far fetched as last year. So I definitely believe that can happen.
So what?
And then just race well. I think that's what I really want to do.
What's your preferred event? Is it the team or the singles event?
I prefer. It's kind of the same, like, because it's the same kind of situation. Like for the individual, it's a lot more like praising for yourself. But for the team event, it's also good to, like, because snowboarding is such a lone sport. It's good to have a victory for the team. That's also kind of quite nice. So I wouldn't say that I've got a preferred event, but I really enjoy both.
Yeah. So I'll just ask you one final question, and then I'll let you go because it's the morning for you, so you probably want to go out and get snowboarding. So the last question is, how would you like to be remembered?
I'd love to be remembered in the UK as like HUW Nightingale, the snowboard cross athlete. I'd love for the sport to become a lot bigger in the UK as well. And for me, I just want to also get known as like the guy who just loved snowboarding, because I genuinely do just love to snowboard. I don't care if it's bad weather or good weather. I just love to get out on a snowboard.
Yeah. Well, mate, I appreciate you coming on, and all the best with the rest of the season. So thanks for your time, mate. Thank you, everyone who made it to the very end of the podcast. It's a really good one, this one. It was just like, yeah, just a nice chat with a nice lad about the career he's got ahead, the career he's had so far. So I hope you all liked it. I'm hoping to get a few more Olympians and athletes on in the near future, which will be good, from all sorts of events. I don't just want, your typical athletes like footballers and what have you. I want to get these sports which go unrecognised other than at the Olympics, and sort of bring light to them and bring these people to sort of the mainstream, which would be good if I can help in any which way that I can. So yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to like, subscribe, share with anyone who may be interested, and I will see you next week for episode 18. Thank you.